Okay, the 2026 squad of Scotland is not normal. And what has just happened with this national team goes far beyond a good qualifying campaign. This feels like a football fairy tale one, written with suffering, belief, impossible nights, and one moment of pure magic that changed everything. Scotland have qualified for the World Cup for the first time in 28 years, and the Tartan Army is marching back onto the world stage with a squad that looks nothing like the Scotland we grew up with. This is a team that mixes contradiction with destiny. A 42-year-old goalkeeper defending the net like time has stopped. Yet they also carry one of the most explosive and emotionally charged attacks in European football. They have a captain in Andy Robertson who has literally won it all with Liverpool. They have a cult hero in John McGinn whose engine never stops. And they have the man who broke every expectation placed upon Scotland national team, Kenny McLean. But none of them, absolutely none of them, define this new era like Scott McTominay. McTominay, Serie A champion with Napoli, MVP of the Serie A.
Inter. Preparen, apunten, McTominay golazo!
Ballon d'Or nominee, and now the face of Scotland's rebirth.
Rob, we'll keep this short, let you celebrate. Try and sum that up.
Oh, I don't think we can. An incredible night, full of emotion, full of different emotions. What we got there in the end, this team never did die. McTominay scores the best goal I've ever seen.
His last 12 months have been borderline unbelievable, but sending Scotland to their first World Cup since France 1998 might just be his greatest achievement.
Lift off at Hampden Park. What a goal! What a moment. It is a sensational finish from Scott McTominay with a bicycle kick on 3 minutes. And this is how it's being celebrated across the country.
His evolution as a player mirrors Scotland's own evolution as a team, climbing higher, stepping forward, refusing to stay in the shadows any longer. The October fixtures showed both sides of this team. A stunning 3-1 demolition of Greece at Hampden, followed by a tense, grinding 2-1 win over Belarus. And suddenly, everything came down to one night in Piraeus, a night where Scotland needed at least a draw to set up a winner-takes-all duel against Denmark. But Greece struck them down. And it felt over, completely over, until something unbelievable happened in Copenhagen. Belarus, the team everyone thought had nothing to play for, held Denmark to a draw. Scotland were alive again. Scotland were given a second chance by fate itself, which meant just one thing: beat Denmark. And the Tartan Army goes back to the World Cup. And what happened next was a making mark, which was pure magic. Inside just 3 minutes, Scott McTominay produced one of the most absurd, outrageous moments in Scotland's modern history, leaping to an impossible height to score an overhead kick that defied physics and detonated Hampden Park into pure chaos. The stadium didn't roar, it exploded. But even in the middle of that ecstasy, there was a familiar fear lingering in the air. Did we score too early? Every Scotland fan knows that feeling all too well. Denmark, wounded after dropping a shocking point to Belarus, came forward with wave after wave of pressure. Eventually, they found a lifeline. Rasmus Højlund converted from the spot after an agonisingly long VAR check, with Andy Robertson penalised for a foul on Gustav Isaksson. Hampden fell silent. The nightmare scenario felt dangerously close.
Denmark level!
But then the chaos tilted back towards Scotland. Rasmus Christensen was sent off for a very soft second yellow, and the red card lit a fire under the Tartan Army.
It was McGinn. That's another cynical foul. It's got a red yellow, yeah. Rasmus Christensen is already on a yellow.
Hampton rose as one, and Scotland struck again. Lawrence Shankland, the super sub, stabbed in his 4th international goal, with just over 10 minutes of this nerve-shredding night remaining.
Here.
At Hampton, they call this keep the hide, time the territory, where hearts beat faster than the clock moves. But Scotland never do things the easy way. Patrick Dorg smashed home an equaliser almost immediately, slicing the tension in half.
Firm in the face of this. Tierney's only half away. Dorgu, 2-2.
All the ghosts of the past missed chances, collapsed campaigns, broken dreams came rushing back. But this generation refused to let history repeat itself. 3 minutes into added time, Kieran Tierney unleashed a long-range rocket worthy of a Hollywood script.
Ferguson's header given away, but it breaks to Tierney!
Hampton shook. 28 years of waiting were seconds away from ending. Game management, calm, professionalism, that's all Scotland needed. But instead, they delivered a moment that will be remembered for a century. Kenny McLean, the man who symbolises this team's resilience, looked up, saw Kasper Schmeichel off his line, and from his own half from another postcode, launched the most audacious strike in Scottish football history.
There's McLean. He's going to shoot. Is that got it?
The ball sailed, dropped and crashed into the net. Hampton died, then resurrected, then erupted into a frenzy no words can do justice. That was the moment Scotland ended their World Cup curse, not with a safe clearance to the corner, but with an impossible goal that crowned a night of pure magic. You thought Scotland would crumble under the pressure of their first World Cup chance in 28 years. Then you clearly haven't met this Scotland team, a side that doesn't break, doesn't panic, and refuses to follow the script that's defined decades of heartbreak.
What a night, Jane. Indeed, the biggest in decades here in Scotland, because we as a nation are going to the Men's World Cup for the first time in almost 30 years. Saying that out loud is truly hard to believe, given the struggle that Scottish fans have faced for many, many years now. And the front pages here in Scotland, well, they tell a story of victory and vindication, if you'll.
Scotland once lived on the World Cup stage, appearing at 5 tournaments in a row between 1974 and 1990. Then came the long winter failure after failure, campaigns collapsing in the final step, and a generation that grew up without seeing their nation on football's biggest night. France '98 felt like a distant memory, until now. Much of this resurrection traces back to 2019, when Steve Clarke took over a broken, drifting national team and rebuilt it brick by brick.
Steve, I can't start anywhere else but just asking how you feel right now.
Yeah, pretty good. It's a nice feeling. Obviously, I mentioned at the very start of the campaign about you feel the pressure, the weight of the country on your shoulders to try and produce a World Cup qualification. So now there's a little bit of relief that we're there, we've done it. I thought we would. Maybe not in the manner that we did, maybe not through the group, but I've always said I believe in my players, you know, so that's qualified for the Euros, got to the World Cup playoffs, qualified for the Euros, and all that. What I did all those years ago when I was first in the job, the first year, 18 months, when I'm thinking the best way to try and improve the group.
He dragged Scotland into Euro 2020.
And Marshall is saved!
Then Euro 2024.
McGinn, it's Armstrong again, it's 3-2.
Breaking the curse of disappearing in qualifying. Yes, both tournaments ended in painful group stage exits, but each campaign added steel, identity and belief. Even their 2022 World Cup dream, which ended in a playoff defeat to Ukraine, served as a turning point.
They might finish Scotland off now. Artem Dovbyk!
This team learned how to suffer, how to stay alive, how to keep fighting even when the football world expected them to fade away. This Scotland may not play the most glamorous brand of football. They don't dance, they don't sparkle, they endure, they grind. They refuse to bow to the glorious failures label that haunted every previous generation. They defend like their lives depend on it. They attack with heart, and they thrive in chaos. And the reason they can do all of this, the reason they've become a nightmare for anyone underestimating them, is because of the structure Steve Clarke has built. Scott McTominay is the first pillar inside Steve Clarke's structure. The emotional engine, the competitive heartbeat, and the player who, quite literally, dragged Scotland back into the World Cup.
Listen, we started the game really well. Scott McTominay scored an unbelievable overhead kick. Really good start. We spoke about that fast start, we did that. Then Denmark showed their qualities.
Last season, he didn't just thrive in Italy, he conquered it. With Napoli, he delivered 13 goals and 6 assists, earning the MVP of Serie A and transforming himself into the most destructive, box-crashing midfielder in Europe. It was the season that redefined his entire career.
Here's an early chance for Scott McTominay!
And then came that overhead kick against Denmark, a moment so outrageous, it placed him in the same gallery as Gareth Bale's strike in Kyiv, or Ronaldo's at Turin. And Jude Bellingham's at the Euros. The difference is that those were Real Madrid stars. McTominay did it for Scotland, under pressure, in a match that would decide the nation's fate after 28 years. He has become, without exaggeration, a Scottish Galactico, the player who bends reality whenever his nation needs him. What makes his rise even more remarkable is that it happened inside the national team, not outside it. His growth has mirrored Scotland's own evolution. Years ago, he was a midfielder who sat deep, tackling and covering space, a player many thought lacked the technique to influence games higher up. At Euro 2024, he showed flashes of danger, but he still wasn't world-class, and neither was Scotland. Both were unfinished, both were limited. Today, both are fully realised versions of themselves. The turning point arrived when two managers understood the truth about McTominay. He was never meant to be a holding midfielder. At Manchester United, he was trapped in a role that forced him to sit, recycle and defend, producing just 7 goals across 2,200 minutes. Rarely touching the ball inside the box, rarely allowed to drive forward. His game was reactive, cautious, functional. It was football with the handbrake on, but when Antonio Conte took him to Napoli, the Italian tore that handbrake off. He unleashed McTominay as a high-impact runner, encouraging him to attack space, to arrive late in the box, to become a second striker when necessary. And everything exploded at once. He doubled his shooting volume, tripled his touches inside the penalty area, and attempted more than 3 times as many dribbles as he ever had in England, all while maintaining an elite finishing rhythm. Conte transformed him from a defensive worker into a proactive weapon, who destabilised backlines with his timing, physicality and confidence. Steve Clarke saw the blueprint and replicated it flawlessly. With Scotland, McTominay now operates as the most advanced midfielder, sometimes even as a false 9. His involvement in the final third has skyrocketed. His goal-scoring instincts sharpened, and his influence has become decisive. Every surge into the area feels like a threat. Every late arrival feels like a warning. It's not just that McTominay has improved, it's that Scotland finally stopped misunderstanding him. Scott McTominay's evolution nowhere was that clearer than in these World Cup qualifiers, where he repeatedly broke games open with the instincts of a born finisher. His second goal against Belarus was the perfect example. A cold, calculated arrival into the box, waiting for the exact pocket of space to appear, delaying his run just enough to lose his marker, and then finishing with the calmness of a seasoned number 9. No rush, no panic, just pure composure. But the moment that truly announced his world-class finishing to the planet came against Denmark. The entire stadium held its breath as he ghosted to the edge of the area, reading the play before it even existed. He shaped his run diagonally toward the penalty spot, exactly where elite scorers live, and when Ben Doak delivered a high, slightly delayed cross, McTominay reacted like a player operating on a higher frequency. He twisted his body mid-air, aligned his frame to perfection, and unleashed an outrageous overhead kick that rocketed into the net. And the most terrifying thing is that it's not the only time McTominay has scored a goal like that to achieve something important. His aerial presence has also become one of Scotland's most dangerous weapons. He now rises with purpose, timing his leaps not just to win duels, but to create chances. Against Belarus, he produced a cushioned header that he practically gift-wrapped for Che Adams to finish. And his goal versus Cyprus showcased the full range of his aerial dominance, entering the box as a second striker, attacking the cross with controlled aggression, and scoring through a clever double header sequence that left defenders completely helpless. McTominay no longer just influences matches, he bends them. He decides them. And in this Scotland side, He is the difference between hope and belief. Having more freedom on the pitch hasn't just turned McTominay into a goal scorer, it has unleashed every hidden layer of his footballing profile. The dribbling numbers alone tell a story of a player no longer confined, no longer restricted to the safe zones of midfield. He attempted 92 dribbles last season and completed 55 of them, a sharp 59.8% success rate that reflects confidence, purpose, and the bravery to carry Scotland forward through pressure. When he drives with the ball, he isn't just advancing possession, he is destabilising entire defensive blocks. His involvement in offensive duels also reveals the shift in his identity. McTominay engaged in 326 attacking duels with a 39.6% success rate, showing a willingness to confront defenders directly, to break lines, and to create chaos in high-value zones. These aren't the actions of a holding midfielder, these are the actions of a player trusted to unlock compact defences and tilt matches in Scotland's favour. His passing game has evolved in the same direction. McTominay attempted 897 passes at an impressive 87.7% accuracy, but what truly matters is how much more vertical and ambitious he has become, with 92 passes into the final third at 73.9% and 35 deliveries into the penalty area at 65.7%. Last season he nearly doubled what he produced at Manchester United. The numbers confirm what the pitch already shows. He is now a direct link between midfield and attack, a player who progresses the ball with conviction and intelligence. Even his forward passing 225 attempts at 74.7% completion reflects a midfielder who no longer hides behind the simplest option. Instead, he scans, dictates, and forces the game to move where he wants it. His playmaking maturity is visible in his 23.8% action after run efficiency and 2.5 shots per match, numbers that underline his transformation into a true final third threat. Napoli and Scotland have unlocked a McTominay they had never seen before, a McTominay who drives, who creates, who breaks lines, who carries the team as both runner and architect. But Scott is not the only one. There are others rising with him, and together they are shaping a Scotland that no one will want to face in 2026. Steve Clarke is now, without debate, the greatest manager in Scotland's history, and the numbers, the context, and the emotion behind this qualification prove it. No coach has led Scotland more times than him, with 74 matches and counting, and no coach has ever taken Scotland to 3 major tournaments.
Yeah, I think, look, as it stands, it is because of, obviously contract situation, and, obviously we don't know our situation because it depends on how we're still performing at 36, 37, but, obviously his is a contract, and whatever happens in the future, we don't know, but he's been unbelievable. He's been unbelievable for Scotland. He's helped us massively to achieve our dreams, because when he took over, we hadn't been to a tournament since 1998, never mind a World Cup. It was, we hadn't never been to Euros, and now we've been to 2. We've gained experience of that. We've had so many highs.
He picked up a squad that had been humiliated by Kazakhstan, rebuilt their identity piece by piece, and delivered what no one dared to dream: Scotland returning to the World Cup after 28 long years. Clarke spoke before this decisive window about giving his players a chance to be instantly written into the history books. And that is exactly what he delivered: a team reborn, a nation revived, and a golden generation that finally believes in itself.
With the team not having qualified for the World Cup since 1998, what does this mean for Scots, who went through an absolute slog of a game? Saw some brilliant goals. Scott McTominay with an overhead kick in the 3rd minute, and then Kieran Tierney to make it 3-2 from the edge of the area, and then for 4-2 McLean from the halfway line. It was an absolutely brilliant game. We were going nuts upstairs watching the game. What did it mean?
His greatest strength has been simple but transformational: trust. Clarke built a core of players who are reliable, resolute, and absolutely committed to the shirt, something that many managers before him simply could not achieve. And within that structure, there is one man who embodies everything Scotland have become: John McGinn. If there is a footballer in this generation who is criminally underrated, it is McGinn. Not because he lacks quality, but because he doesn't look like the stereotypical star. He came to prominence late. He is not a natural athlete by conventional standards, and he doesn't glide across the pitch with elegance. He jokes about his unusual running style and that famous low centre of gravity, but it doesn't matter. What he produces on the pitch is undeniable. Despite his unorthodox profile, McGinn has become a machine of influence for both Aston Villa and Scotland. His versatility is almost unmatched. Clarke has used him everywhere, attacking midfield, wide midfield, deeper roles, and he thrives in each of them. His trademark, the 3rd man run, arriving at perfect moments to break defensive lines. His numbers are as elite as the eye test suggests, ranking in the top 3% of midfielders in Europe's top leagues for successful take-ons, with 3.76 dribbles per 90 and averaging 2.93 passes into the penalty area per 90. These aren't the stats of an average midfielder, they're the numbers of a creator who bends games to his will. McGinn also has a habit of appearing in the biggest moments, from his late strike against Croatia.
Vardiol gets it across again, the goalkeeper, now McGinn if he can keep it down!
To his beautiful stunner versus Poland in the Nations League.
Gilmore, brilliantly breaking the lines. Doak, here's John McGinn! Oh!
He has delivered when Scotland needed him most. With 18 goals and 20 assists for his country, he is the beating heart of this team, a cult hero whose influence stretches beyond the pitch. Defensively, he brings the same relentless energy, averaging 1.88 interceptions and 4.4 recoveries per 90. He presses, he tackles, he carries the ball, he progresses, play everything Clark's system needs, and everything Scotland had lacked for decades. But if McGinn carries the spirit, then the soul of the nation, the face, the leader, the unshakable presence is another man entirely. Because if this Scotland squad has a captain forged for history, it is Andy Robertson. Andy Robertson, the captain of Scotland and a Premier League icon, is the perfect example of a modern fullback at the peak of his powers. At Liverpool, he has won absolutely everything the Premier League.
To find Alexander-Arnold, and here comes Robertson and Salah, wonderful save, Robertson's there.
The Champions League. The Club World Cup. And even with the arrival of Milos Kerkez, he remains essential. His influence has been just as powerful with Scotland. Since Robertson became the long-term left-back and captain, Scotland have returned to 3 elite tournaments, something once considered impossible. Defensively, Robertson is pure discipline. His timing in the press, his ability to step forward at exactly the right moment, and the way he regains possession disrupts opposition attacks before they even develop. His positional intelligence is elite. He reads danger early, closes angles, and neutralises wingers who rely on pace or trickery. His interceptions often ignite Scotland's counter-attacks, turning defence into attack in a matter of seconds. But Robertson's threat isn't just defensive. His attacking output is one of the reasons Liverpool became a dominant force under Klopp. His pace, engine and delivery from the left flank are world-class. He consistently produces some of the Premier League's best crosses, and his overlapping runs create overloads that rip defensive blocks apart. His header against Poland showed that he isn't only a creator, he can arrive late at the back post and finish like a forward. There are games where Robertson looks superhuman. In one match, he produced 327 intensive runs, a figure that no other fullback in the league could match. That dynamism is priceless for Clark, a leader who can defend, attack, carry, overlap, and lift the entire team through sheer force of will. And emotionally, Robertson carries something even greater. He fulfilled his own dream, and Diogo Jota's dream, by finally stepping onto a World Cup stage with Scotland.
Feel different? Different. I think I've had it well, but today I've been in bits. I know that the age I'm at and everything, this will be my last chance at the World Cup. I couldn't get my mate Diogo Jota out of my head today. We spoke so much together about the World Cup. When he missed out on guitar because of injury, I missed out. The Scotland never win, and we always discuss what it'd be like going to this World Cup, and I know it'll be somewhere slightly over me tonight, and yeah, I just couldn't get him out of my head the whole day, so I was in a bit of trouble in my room earlier, but yeah, I know, but like I said, I think I hit it well off the boys, and yeah, I'm just so glad they ended up this way.
These 3, Robertson, McTominay and McGinn, are the pillars of Clark's project. But Scotland's revival goes deeper. Veterans like Craig Gordon, still delivering at 42, have given Clark stability in goal and a sense of continuity. Kenny McLean, capable of scoring screamers like the one against Norway.
If Dykes can get the flick on here, it's John McGinn, it's Dykes, it's McGinn!
Or his half-pitch strike versus Denmark, has become a real hero. Aaron Hickey offers reliability and athleticism at right back. Billy Gilmour, now a mature pivot at Napoli, gives Scotland the midfield control they once lacked. Che Adams, with his shooting technique and ruthless efficiency, delivers decisive goals. And young Ben Doak, fighting for his place in the Premier League, brings pace, energy, and creativity from the wing. So yes, Scotland are making history. They have the belief of an entire nation behind them. And under Steve Clarke, the ceiling is higher than ever. He has broken the old paradigms, taken Scotland back to the world stage. And now the mission is simple: compete, fight and push for something greater than anyone thought possible. Because for this Scotland side, the sky truly is the limit.